Hi, I'm Wild Bill, and this is an ongoing series called Mything Persons, where I do a low key, pun intended, introduction to significant figures in the classical cosmogony. Today's subject, Loki. And I'm going to use him as an allegory for intelligence in general. Loki is of uncertain origins. Some say he's half giant, some say he's half elf, some say he comes from an ancient tradition before the Aesir and the Vanir had their cultures. So he's complex. Well, Loki is the only one of the Asgardians who is held up as an icon of brilliance, high intelligence, problem solving with the brain, with the words, instead of the brawn or the loins. And that makes him rather unusual because the Asgardians are known for great strength, great beauty, great purse capacity in terms of, well, great sensory acuity, I'm sorry. And they can make the grass grow, they can make the sun come out, they can make the storm, but they're not smart. Natural forces aren't smart, right? You can't ascribe, you can't petition them. You can't say, please rain, don't rain. So Loki was the only one known for smart. And Loki was, as a smart person, a problem solver. And several of the Asgardian myths deal with Loki's ability to not just be a problem solver, but to do it in real time, to suffer hypothesis, antithesis, synthesis in real time and continue to advance his case, his position, his mission. Good stuff. Problem solving. Let's talk about problem solving for a minute. Our world today has a lot of problems. You know a bunch of them, don't you? Right. I know some others. So we can all agree that there are problems in the world. I just talked to candidates today, and we talked problems. So there are problems. And problems get solved, this is going to sound so simplistic, but it's truth, by problem solvers. And who are problem solvers? Geniuses. So, say you have too much water, your place floods, right? So you dig a channel to the sea, let the water drain out. But the reason your place floods is because the sea and your place are the same height. So when you dig that channel, the sea just flows back that channel. That happened in Louisiana. Yeah. Creating the world's biggest sinkhole, and they haven't fixed it yet. And they never will. No one wants to take responsibility. Because they need a genius to solve that problem. And they don't have one. The kind of genius it takes to solve problems at that level is very rare. And that's why those people that move entire economies, that control the world's trade, for good or ill, and that control the world's services, availability of education, availability of health care, availability of food, availability of fresh drinking water, bathing water, other services, lights, education. Those people at the very top of our system know that we face many problems. Heck, some of them they caused themselves, and they're still trying to weasel out of them. There's only one way you can, because these problems are too big for men and women. They're too big. 7 billion people got to have a toilet to flush tomorrow. Think about that. McDonald's can't have a McRib sandwich at every store because they can't control the products that they create the rib sandwich out of. They would have to buy up the whole market to be able to assure that they could day after day provide that many McRib sandwiches. Can you imagine how complex an equation that is? Because McDonald's may serve 1 billion McRib sandwiches tomorrow. How do you get 1 billion McRib sandwiches? Just the idea, how much sugar, how much vanilla, how much barbecue sauce, how much, just how much meat in a billion McRib sandwiches. Or meat substitute. Thanks. They grow a lot of soya, so anyway. It's a complex situation for capitalism, for socialism, for communism, and for any other form of governance and apportionment of resources. So we need geniuses to solve these problems and to fix them. And the reason that these people at the top of our system allow the population to swell out of control like it does, right? Part of the problem of Central America and South America is overpopulation. Did you know? Overpopulation without being able to provide resources for them, and education for them, and health care for them. And that's why they're trying to come here. Where else can they go? They'll die if they don't do something. But anyway, why do our people at the very top support this kind of what seems to be gross inequity, right? Well, because out of every 100 million people, roughly, I'm not a statistical person. I don't believe in statistical models. And for those of you that do believe in statistical models, let me tell you, the statistics is a way of juggling large numbers in your head because people don't know how to use a slide rule anymore. That's all it is. People trying to attribute truth and deep understanding to a statistical analysis are lying to you. They know that it isn't truth. It's a way of juggling big numbers so you can test things in your head, so you can make a model that you can test ideas against. Hypothesis, antithesis, synthesis, the dialectic, how knowledge grows. And if you want the problem solved, one of which is overpopulation, you need a lot of geniuses, and you're only getting one per 100 million. And he snapped up right away. She snapped up right away. Golly. No one cares. All right, so except for genius. The people that run the world understand that people are going to starve to death, die of COVID, spread AIDS, right? Reduce the wetlands, destroy the world's lungs, as they call the rainforest, when really it's the ocean. But still, destroy the ocean. They're going to let that all go on because they need those problem solvers. So it's sort of a zero-sum game, or a declining market, right? They're desperate for these geniuses to solve problems. And they're only getting a few. And some of those will never be discovered. My postulate, the very smartest people ever born don't want to get noticed. They recognize right away that you lose all your freedoms when somebody notices how smart you are, because you're going to be needed. And so if you're the smartest person ever born, you might not want to live that life. And you might be smart enough and wise enough to hide from it. And if you're good at it, no one will ever know. And that is a form of perfection. How smart are you if no one ever knows? You must be pretty darn smart. Smile to yourself in the darkness and no one else will ever see it. Anyway, but most of the genius is snapped up as quick as it can be and turned to useful purpose inside our system, our worldwide system. Economic trade, war trade, pressures, enfranchisement, disenfranchisement, surplus, paucity. See what I mean? All that system needs to be balanced, needs to be enhanced, needs to be refined, needs to be perfected, and to do that, you can't without super genius. And that super genius is very rare. There's only a few of them. I wanted to be one. It's unfair. I'm not. Oh. So, but that's who Loki was. Loki was the Asgardians' problem solver. They only had 12 or 20 or whatever, and he was their guy. They're lucky they had him, because in a couple of very major events, He saved their asses. Yeah. But then he did a few dumb things. He gave, who was it, Hogir? He gave him the dart made out of the one substance that Baldur's mother could not get to agree to not harm her son because she asked everything on the earth and heaven, please don't hurt my son. And everything said yeah, except for the mistletoe. And then Loki knew that. How? And he fashioned a dart out of mistletoe and handed it to Hogir and says, the blind god, and says, hey man, everybody else is throwing rocks and sticks and spears and shooting bullets at Baldur, and they're all bouncing off. We're all having a great time. You want to get in on that? Just throw this. Here, I'll steer you. Here. Ready? Throw. Ooh, bang. So Loki was a problem solver. That doesn't show him up in his best light, but if you look into the Norse mythology, without Baldur being dead, he can't be resurrected after Ragnarok and form the new world with the new gods. That's all part of that story. The people that believe in Ragnarok, that it's coming, that we're going to have this massive battle of good against evil and all that, they obviously don't know what they're talking about because they haven't read the Norse myths. They watch television, watch cartoons, and they thought, listen, my Thor! Oh, now I know what I'm talking about. Now I know. That's what they're doing because they're not geniuses. And they don't have a genius leading them. They don't have a problem solver to make the world a better place leading them. But Loki paid for his brilliance. When he fashioned that dart and when the guys figured it out, yeah, Hognir said, yeah, I think the voice was Loki's. It was trying to disguise itself, but you know, my ears are pretty good because I'm a blind guy. I think it was Loki. They all set upon Loki and they asked him why he did it. In the Norse way, which is to beat him until he's unconscious and to wake him up with a bucket of water and beat him until he's unconscious, And eventually, they got bored with that. So Odin had him strapped to a rock and positioned a serpent above him to drip venomous, ascetic spew upon the brightest of the Asgardians. And of course, that's agony. And Loki, being immortal, was able to heal the damage, and then it would just keep happening. That's where I got the concept of the Burning Men in my Petrol novel. So, Loki's wife was the only person in the whole pantheon that loved him. And she brought a dish down, and she would catch the venom and then spill it, catch the venom and spill it. And of course, when she did this, some would drop. So it wasn't a perfect solution. She wasn't as smart as he was. But she was devoted. Thank you for her, right? But eventually, Loki becomes part of I think he becomes part of the army of Surtur, Mimir, and Jormungandr, and Fenrir, and these guys. And they all come up to Asgard at the last time in the great battle of Ragnarok, and everybody dies, and then out of the ashes arises a new world led by the resurrection god, the Norse edition of Jesus, or Osiris, right? Baldur. So if Loki hadn't killed him, the prophecy could not be fulfilled. Loki, problem solver. Today, we need problem solvers too. And that's why the people that run our economy, that shake it from both ends, allow for this huge overpopulation and this inefficient distribution and unfair distribution of resources. Because they need that one genius, that one super genius to every 100 million people. And they'll snap them right up and set them to problem solving. Wow. So, A, if you are one of those super genius guys doing the problem solving, well, Bill salutes you. B, if you're a youngster and you're that smart, think about it. Do you really want the people that run the world to know you'll never have a free moment left in your life? You'll never be happy. You'll be useful. Wow, Bill. Oh, once was a fella named Thor who grabbed hold of the left-hand oar. He steered so hard, the sea turned to lard, and now the boat can't go no more. Yeah,